All right, good afternoon, boys and girls. We're on lesson 58, subtracting a fraction from 1. Here are our objectives today. Write fractions that are equal to 1. We're going to also write fractions that are equal to 1 in simplest form. We're going to write mixed numbers that contain fractions that are equal to 1 in simplest forms. And we're also going to subtract a fraction from 1. So, pretty busy day today for homework. Here's our joke for the day. Which triangles are the coldest? And of course, isosceles triangles are the coldest. No vocab today, so we're going to go straight to our new concept, which is uh, take a look at these circles. And what we have here is we know that if we split this in half, right, if we cut this in half, we still have one full circle here. And I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. This is going to be two halves that are filled, right? Mind the weird highlighting stuff, sorry. Um, so if we have this circle and we split it in half, we have two pieces, right? So there would be a 2 here over 2. And that would be the fraction for this circle, right? But we still only have one circle on this one right here. So if we just cut it in half, but we left both pieces in, we'd have two pieces out of two pieces, right? Same thing for this pie that's been divided into 3. We have um, we have sliced it into 3 pies. It's still filled in so that we have 3 out of 3 pies. All right, 3 out of 3, which equals 1 whole pie. Same thing here when we cut it into fourths. All of them are still filled up, so we have 4 out of 4. All right, that's going to be equal to 1 circle, 4/4. Same thing with fifths, 5/5. All right. We just cut the circle into 5 pieces, but we leave all the pieces still in there. Therefore, we have 5 out of 5 pieces. So, we got to think of these pies as one. All right. This is one pie. This is one pie. This is one pie. This is one pie, or one circle, or whatever. All right. And since we haven't taken anything out of it yet, that leaves us with one whole pie. Does that make sense? And so when we do our examples, we have to think about our fractions that are equal to 1. All right, so if the denominator is 4, that means, I'm sorry, this is the denominator, the bottom number, is telling you how we are cutting the circle, all right, or how we're cutting the shape into how many pieces it is, right? In this one, for example, there's 4, we're going to cut into 4, right? So that's what the denominator is. And the top part would be how many pieces are still left into that circle, right? We didn't take any pieces out, therefore we have 4 out of 4, okay? And so when we go to our example number 1, we want to look for a fraction that's equal to 1 that has a denominator of 4, right? Remember, we're just cutting that circle into 4 pieces, and we're leaving all those pieces in. And therefore, we had that one circle still is equal to 1, right? So our fraction that's equal to 1 with the denominator of 4 would be 4 out of 4. Okay, since 4 out of 4 equals 1, what does 5/4 equal? I want you guys to pick your brain and figure out how many is 5/4, right? If we have one whole, which is 4 out of 4, then how much left over do we have? I want you guys to try to figure that out and explain that to me, and then we'll go over that tomorrow. All right, example number 2. For a Saturday night snack, Bailey and her friend cooked 2 identical pizzas. Bailey ate 1/4 of one pizza, and her friends ate 3/4 of another pizza. What amount of pizza was eaten? So what you're going to do is you're going to add these two fractions together, and you're going to see how much pizza you have left over, right? So if we add 1/4 plus 3/4, remember, we don't change the denominator. That's basically what we're cutting it, how we're cutting the pizza. And these are the pieces that were eaten. Okay, so 1/4 plus 3/4 equals 4/4, which equals one whole pizza. So, the simplest answer we can find is 4 out of 4, which is also 1. So 1 is the simplest form of the answer. Okay. Let's go to example number 3. So we're going to compare 4 and 3/3 to 5. Okay, remember this is a mixed number, 4 and 3/3. So what you're going to be looking at is you have 4 pieces and this has 5 pieces, right? Then on the 5th piece right here, we're going to cut that into thirds. And did we take any of those pieces away? And the answer is no. So 3 out of 3 is 1 whole. If we do 1 whole plus 4, what does that equal? Right, it equals 5. Okay, so therefore 4 and 3/3 is equal to 5. So try to explain this. Why is 4 and 4/3 greater than 5? All right, if you can explain that to me tomorrow, I might give you a buck or some dojo points. All right, let's look at example number 4. One morning during summer vacation, Mason spent 1.5 hours cleaning out the garage, and his sister Alyssa spent 1.5 hours doing yard work. How many hours did Mason and Alyssa work that morning altogether? So we're going to add these two numbers together. Okay, and in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 and 1/2 plus 1.5. And first we're going to add the whole numbers together. So we have 1 plus 1, and then we're going to add 1/2 plus 1/2, which is 2/2. All right, we're going to add these two numerators together. 1 plus 1 equals 2. The denominator always stays the same when you're adding and subtracting fractions. And then 2 and 2/2, which equals 2/2 equals 1. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. Okay. So try to do this one on your own. Explain how to find the sum of 3.5 plus, 3/2 plus 3/2. How much is that going to equal? All right, if you can get that, any of these things, I'll give you some dojo points or I'll give you some bucks to spend for your class. So example number 5, Jovan baked a blueberry pie. After dinner, he and his family ate 1/3 pie for dessert. What fraction of the pie was not eaten? Okay, so what you're going to do is if you have 1 whole pie, we're going to divide that into 3. Okay, say we didn't eat any of it yet. So we're going to change that 1 into 3/3. Okay, remember, how you cut it determines your denominator. Okay, so we're cutting into 3 pieces, so that's going to be our denominator. And then we haven't eaten anything yet, so that's going to be on top. So 1 whole pie would be 3 out of 3. Now we're going to take 1/3 away because their family was hungry and we're going to eat 1/3 of it. So we're going to subtract 3. We're going to subtract 1/3 from 3/3. And how to do that is, remember, when we subtract and add fractions, the denominator stays the same. Okay, that just tells how we're cutting those pieces. Now we do subtract the numerator, which is 3 minus 1, which equals 2. All right. Now, for lesson practice, you're going to compare a fraction, letter A, that's equal to 1 with the denominator of 3. If you're unsure about this one, go back to example number 1. Okay, that's what we were talking about in example number 1. For these ones, we're going to compare, use a greater than, less than, or equal to sign for each of these things. Okay, and then we're going to add. Remember, when you add or subtract fractions, the denominator, which is the bottom number, stays the same. And then you want to simplify it. Okay, if this is going to be 10/10, well, what does that really mean? So I just kind of gave you the answer for letter D. And then for the subtraction, we can subtract these ones. The way that you're going to do that is you need to change 1 into a fraction. And a fraction that can be subtracted by having a denominator of 4. So remember, when you subtract fractions, you have to have the same denominator. Okay, so for this one, you have to have a denominator of 4. So what over 4 equals 1? Okay, same thing here. You have to have a fraction with a denominator of 3 in order for you to subtract this number. Well, what number um, is equal to 1 if the denominator is 3 in this one? Okay, so those are your questions for tonight. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you will, please write them on the back so we can remember to go over them in the morning. All right, have a great day. We'll see you soon.